Oh, it's different up here. Fancy. So I thought that I had nothing to say about revenge, except for this one mildly interesting story, which I've tabled. And then after all of your stories, I realized I'm also filled with hate and venom for so many things. So thank you so much. So this is a story about an arch nemesis that I have, whose name is so excellent, but I'm not going to use it. So I know we're not allowed notes. I just wrote his alias that I made up. This is a story about Jimmy Blitz. Yeah, the worst. So about 2 years ago, I was sitting at home, and no, before that, see, this is a problem with going last. Couple drinks, or 4. I was talking with a friend of mine about dating, as many of us are prone to do, I'm assuming. And we were trying to assess why we date the wrong dudes. Does anybody do that? Have that like assessment and analysis? Yeah. Oh, thank you. You all do it in between these sets. I do it. En tout cas. So we were talking about this. My problem was that I was like, dating ex-boyfriends again, doing the circle back. Her problem was that she was a very voracious internet dater, which is something I've never been able to do. I think you have to have a very strong spiritual constitution to be on the internet and dating a lot, and I don't have that. When I do it, it ends in failure. But she was very good at it and always had such a light heart about it and had so much fun with it. But she was picking the wrong dudes for her. They were just like douchebags, not like the literal ones like we heard about before, but like the just kind of smarmy wrong dudes for her that she would have a fun evening with, go out and have some drinks, whatever, that's it. But this happened a lot, and she was starting to get really unsatisfied about it. So she said, you're my closest friend, I confide in you, what can I do to change this? I was like, I think you maybe need to stop dating on the internet, because that's not working. And she's like, I can't, because it's also so fun. So what do I do? And in about 10 days coming up, I was going to be going out of town for 3 weeks to Santa Fe. So I said, listen, I'm leaving town on April 11th. By then, when I leave, you have to be done with this. Like, you need to take a big old break from the internet dating scene because it's not working. It's not what you want. I'm just, using nonviolent communication and reflecting back to her what I'm hearing, which is that she didn't want to date douchebags anymore. She's like, okay, April 11th, you leave. I'm going to stop doing this. So I'm sitting at home. She comes over one day and she's like, I found an amazing guy on the internet, on Facebook. And I was like, oh, great. Who is he? She's like, I think you'll really be into this guy for me. He makes documentaries. He's super interesting. He's really attractive. He's a bit older. I was like, awesome. What's his name? His name is Jimmy Blitz, she tells me. And my face drops and apparently I scream. And she's like, what's the deal? I'm like, that guy is my arch nemesis. I don't have many nemeses. Nemesis? I don't have many nemesis. I'm quite a loving person. But this guy is the worst. And I met him years ago, and I told her this story when I was like, you cannot go out on a date with this guy because he's the worst. Not exaggeratively, he is the worst. Many of you know him because he's a man about town all the time. And I met him years ago in Toronto when I was making documentaries, and somebody's like, oh, you should meet, I keep forgetting his name, you should meet Jimmy Blitz. He's going to be at the same festival as you. He's going to TIFF, and then you guys are going to be at the same festival in Europe. And I was like, great. I don't know anything about how to make documentaries, and I'm trying to make one, so maybe this guy can be an ally for me. And so I met him, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. When we're in that festival in Europe, you and I are going to take on the world. And I was like, Jimmy Blitz, you're the best. The worst. Because when we were in Europe, also this guy is like this is judgmental. He wears white shoes, but not like Converse, white. Like if you've ever lived in Montreal, the dudes that hang out on Lower Saint Laurent. Does anybody understand what I mean? White leather, kind of pointy, and you hate yourself when you see them. I hate myself thinking about it. I'm sorry if anybody's wearing those shoes right now. Jimmy Blitz. So we're in Europe. I know nobody. I'm smoking cigarettes to make friends, trying to shop my film around. I'm a huge failure at it. And I was hoping that this guy would like show me all his networks. But he's the guy who makes pretty good content, but talks a lot of shit and a lot of game and hits on all the girls and is basically everything I thought the documentary industry wouldn't be. I'm like, we are altruistic people making films about social justice and changing the planet with film. That is not what the documentary industry is like. And I learned that firsthand from Jimmy Blitz, who now my friend wants to go on a date with, and I'm horrified. Because for me, he really excluded me also from like the cool VIP things that were supposed to help advance my career or my film or something. As I'm saying this, maybe I'm realizing he's not the worst person. Whatever, he's still the worst. I would see him around Toronto when I moved back here, and he'd be like on his bike or like playing his guitar at the Center for Social Innovation at the talent show, which is also like the worst. And I'd see him and I'd just be like, nemesis, like you are what's bad about gender and documentary. Now my best friend wants to go out on a date with you. And I was just like, this is bad news. She's like, I'm doing it. He's perfect for like the last douchey hurrah. I was like, I don't know. A week passes, they have a date scheduled up. And so we look at him on the internet, obviously. And his Facebook page is open to anybody. He is a different name than Jimmy Blitz, so you can't look at it. But he like documents all of his therapy sessions with like, I don't know, Menachem Begum or whatever his like Jewish therapist name is, and has like pictures of his therapist. He's a complete narcissist, as some documentary filmmakers are. And then there's this one post on his wall that is about, and that has like 200 comments from people. He's also one of these douchey LaRues who has like 6,000 friends on Facebook. The worst. And the post is about how he's giving a lecture at a university. This is also why he's my nemesis, because he has outreach to like the youth, which I think is irresponsible. And he was trying to give a talk about effective social media, and he was using this video called 2 Girls, 1 Cup. Have you heard of it? To discuss like the effectiveness of like viral videos. And I was like, hey, friend who wants to go on a date with, what's 2 Girls, 1 Cup? Because like I look up koala bears on the internet. I don't know what this is. Does anybody know what this is? You do. I'm gonna tell you. Does anybody not know what this is? You deeply don't want to know. So my friend, this is her revenge on me for I don't know what, says, oh, I'm gonna look up this video for you. I was like, 2 Girls, 1 Cup, neat. So I'm just like, maybe it's about like food justice. Or like, so I'm looking and I'm like, oh, so you like, it comes on, there's like this shitty music and there's these 2 girls and they're making out. And I'm like, oh, whatever, it's like porn, who cares? But also you shouldn't be using porn in a university classroom because I think it's irresponsible. And then, I actually didn't know I would tell this part of the story. Thank you for going last. And what happens with the cup is like they're kissing and then like their bodies are doing things and then they're like, I actually can't. I was so horrified. I actually don't even know what happens. If somebody could come up here and fill in the blanks. I can't remember like which end it occurred from, but there was bad things from either end and then there was like drinking from the cup. I shut down my computer, screamed. I was so horrified that my friend would do this to me. And then, of course, I was like completely horrified that fucking Jack LaRue, Jimmy Blitz, was using this to explain to students the power of social media. More evidence that he's the worst. I could think of a million videos you can use, like that cat sleeping with, you know what I mean? Like that cat who sleeps and then sneezes. Like, that's a great example. There's like 20 million hits on that. Why do you have to go to the worst thing that 2 women could do that they probably weren't even paid properly for? Anyway, I can't. Like, it was the worst thing I've ever seen from the worst person I've ever met, arguably. April 11th is coming up. She's like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go out with Jack LaRue. And I was like, okay. She goes out with him. It's terrible. It's boring. He has a sensitivity to the flickering candle, and so he blows it out. He thinks it's bad for him. Probably his therapist told him about it. Like highly, highly sensitive. And like 7 minutes in, she's like, oh my God, this jackass cured me of my desire to date douchebags. I'm done. I was like, amazing. We accomplished our task. It was April 11th. I was leaving to go out of town for a few weeks. And that night I was like, oh, what are you going to do tonight after I leave? And she said, I'm going out with this old friend. And I was like, oh, who is it? She's like, oh, it's this guy. We went to junior high together. We're just going to have a drink. I'm like, is it a date? She's like, no, totally not a date. I'm like, is he a douchebag? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, you're allowed to go out with him. We even shook on it, and somebody photographed us shaking on this deal to stop going out with douchebags. April 11th happened. She goes out with him. I come home 3 weeks later, and Buddy is her boyfriend. And they're totally in love, and they're getting married soon, and he's the nicest. The opposite of what's his name? Jimmy Blitz. The opposite. And he's the nicest man. And one of my closest friends has found love, I think, because of this guy, Jimmy Blitz. So, I have deep venom, and I've also discovered tonight in doing a bit of reconnaissance that he's related to some people in the room and that everybody knows who he is. Stay away or befriend him. Maybe he has lots of cool networks with his shoes and stuff. But I will say, in my experience, the best revenge is love. Cheesy, I know, but I think it's true.